Donald Trump claims he can end the war in Ukraine in one day, but many of us here, especially those who fled, are skeptical. I left Kharkiv with my family after our apartment was hit. It was terrifying. Now, as Thanksgiving approaches, I worry about what Trump's second term means for us. I fear he might make a deal that sacrifices Ukraine for a quick resolution. It's the easy way out, but at what cost? My daughters deserve a future free from war, and I can't help but wonder if that future is slipping away. I fled Ukraine with my family, joining the 6.7 million who escaped the horrors of war. Arriving in the U.S. on an academic visa, I feel a mix of relief and anxiety. While I'm not a refugee in the traditional sense, I worry for those who are, especially with the looming threat of Trump revoking the Uniting for Ukraine program. Over 270,000 Ukrainians have found refuge here, relying on temporary protected status for their safety and livelihood. It's a fragile security, and the thought of losing it is terrifying. We need to stand together and advocate for those who've lost everything.
In Trump's first term, he aimed to cut programs for certain groups, and with Stephen Miller by his side, there's concern he might push even harder this time. But what really worries me is the situation in Ukraine. Trump has made his stance clear, and J.D. Vance's proposed peace plan is alarming, ceding land to Russia and promising neutrality for Ukraine. Yet, Doug Klain from Raise 'em for Ukraine believes there's still hope. He's worked with Vance and sees him as intelligent and adaptable. Klain is focused on securing military aid from Biden before Trump takes office, hoping Vance remains flexible in his views. The stakes are high, and we need to stay vigilant.
I fled Russia last year after speaking out against the invasion of Ukraine. As a university economics lecturer in Nizhny Novgorod, I faced expulsion for my views on Crimea back in 2018. When the war escalated, I knew I had to leave for my safety. My journey to the US was anything but straightforward. I first flew to Mexico, navigating a complicated asylum application that felt rigged against me. After 5 weeks of waiting, I finally got my appointment. I walked through a port of entry, crossing a beach to reach freedom. It was a leap of faith, but I was morally ready to embrace a new life.
Crossing the border was just the beginning. I traveled with 5 other Russians and asylum seekers from Central and South America, heading north to Oregon, where I had some connections. But the landscape for immigration has changed drastically. Under Biden, the rules tightened, and now many Russian dissidents are losing hope. They face 6-month waits in Mexico, and the fear is that it'll only get worse if Trump returns. Dmitry Glinsky, a veteran of the pro-democracy movement, shares my concerns. He warns that the next 4 years could be a nightmare for immigrant rights and democracy in the U.S. But we can't let fear paralyze us. We must keep fighting for our rights and the rights of others. Despite the mixed feelings about Trump, some Ukrainians are cautiously optimistic. They believe he might actually engage with intelligence and adjust his views. It's a gamble. Under Biden, support felt like a trickle, barely enough to survive. Trump could bring a higher ceiling of support, even if it comes with risks. Yet, there's a stark contrast in sentiment. Many Ukrainian refugees are frustrated and exhausted, feeling the weight of uncertainty. They see friends who support Trump, but they worry about real threats to their status and aid. It's a complex emotional landscape, balancing hope with the harsh reality of their situation.